the time that you need to pray to God to renew your mind. This is the time you need to tackle the fear of failure head on and just go create something. Fear is natural, but when you start to live by it, that is sinful. That is sinful because the Bible tells us to love, not to fear. So tackle the fear of failure and head on and just go create something. And to conquer your fear of failure, lower your expectations and realize that perfection isn't always realistic and it's not always healthy. And don't be afraid to ask for help. We will sit there and struggle with something rather than to go ask somebody that knows it. And that's women and men who will sit back and just continuously struggle rather than ask for help. You know, asking for help is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength and courage that you knew you needed help. And you decided to get up and go do something about it. Y'all, the cough is really coming on now. Okay. The fourth thing that you can do to start getting your creative juices to going and to get up out of your spiral of depression and this hole that you done dug for yourself, allow yourself to break down. There is a healthy breakdown. There really is a healthy breakdown. Remember the part about sitting around crying? This is about the time you can allow yourself to do that. You can't have the highs without lows. Allow yourself to have those moments so that you can step up your game when the time comes. Don't let sadness or anxiety linger. Just embrace it and move on. Say, this is what happened. This is where I'm at. If you need time, take that time. Time management is very important and crucial. It's vitality to life. Time management. Allow yourself time to grieve over a certain situation. Now, when it comes down to death, when we lose loved ones, I'd say there is no time limit for you to grieve losing the person you love. But at the same time, when you grieve, you do not have to grieve a negative grief. There is a positive way to grieve. If you have lost your wife or your husband, there is a positive way for you to grieve. And that also goes along with asking somebody for help so that you don't stay in that place. And if it comes back to you, you know, you repeat your routine over and over. But don't stay there. Don't stay there lingering and thinking that it's your fault. Don't stay there playing songs over and over if you know it's going to put you in a depression. Because to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. And sometimes we want to control who is absent. We want to control who is absent. And when we can't make good on that, we tend to beat ourselves up for it. Why wasn't I there? Couldn't I have done this? If we would have moved him to this hospital. If we would have moved him to that hospital. You know, I beat myself up for a time period. I broke down and I was down for a minute. Almost 2 years. And during that time that I was broke down, I sat and watched everybody. And listen, you are aware of it. You are aware of what's going on in the world. You just don't want to take part in it because you feel like you don't deserve it because of the person that you lost. You feel like you don't need to live on because life is not worth living without that person. But I promise you, if that person was here, they would tell you, live on without me. Live on. So learn how to have time management. Control how much time you spend on your broken heart. Control how much time you spend in sadness and anxiety. Because eventually, when you stay too long and you don't want to end up like I was, it'll affect your health. It will affect you physically and emotionally. So I want you to allow yourself to break down. And to embrace that moment that this is what's happened in my life. But I know I must go on. That don't, listen, just because you move on does not mean that you forgot about that person. It just lets you know that there is still life out here for you that you have to live. Because that person is gone, but those memories will live forever. As long as you can remember, that's how long those memories will live in you. And you don't have to let those memories be in vain by using it for anxiety and sadness. Those memories don't have to be in vain. You can have some good memories. All right. Okay, the next thing is, let me turn my phone. Or is this my phone ringing? Okay. I don't know what that was. Maybe it was an alarm. Okay, so the fifth thing that I want you to do to help you get back to being creative is to confide in creative company and ask for help. Listen, we got friends that see us going through. There really are some good friends. I don't want anybody to take this lesson as a sign, get rid of your friends. Because you shouldn't. If they've been good to you, and you know they are truly your friends, if they have came back to you after y'all have fell out, or, or they told you the truth about yourself and you didn't like it, or they told you, let me tell you, this is a good one, or they told you the truth about the man or woman that you was with and you fell out with them just because they spoke the truth to you. Look, forgive those people. Forgive those people because they were telling you the truth. If you know in your heart that they were telling you the truth, forgive them and go back and make things right. Confide in creative company and ask for help. Amidst all of the crazy and focus, it helps to have strong creative friendships so that you can escape your own head. You don't know everything. And even if you know a lot of things, you still need somebody on your side. We were not put here to live by ourselves. Adam had Eve. Eve had Adam. And in between there's some friends. So you're not put here to live by yourself. Confide in people who understand your flair and the process. Smoothens the journey and help to push, motivate, and celebrate your success on a whole nother level. Spend time in the company of people who are incredibly supportive and always down to talk. They're the type of people who are always there for you no matter what. They always have an encouraging word to tell you. They know just what you need. Some of our friends are so good, they know exactly what we need, and we'll sit back and say, they don't know what they're talking about. But sometimes they do know what they're talking about. Give them a chance. When they come around and they want to try to get you out of the house, don't be like, oh, no, I can't. I got something to do. Don't make up lies. Don't come making up excuses not to live. Because if God really wanted to take your life, don't you know he could take your life in an instant? In the blink of an eye, don't you know he could allow anything to happen in the blink of an eye? So don't take for granted the people that God has given you in your life. Don't take them for granted, even down to your family. Sometimes our family can be so aggravating and annoying. But at the same time, in your heart, if it was not for some of them, you will be feeling a lot worse than what you are feeling. So give your family credit for what they're doing in your life. I got to give my family credit for what they're doing in my life. The things that I'm going through. Yeah, they sometimes get on my nerves and aggravating too. But I got to give them credit. When I need them the most, I don't have to tell them to come. They automatically come. Loud mouths and all. It don't matter. Listen, the lion cousins come. Everybody comes. It don't matter. They pull together for the common cause to pull you up out of that nature that sin has allowed you to be dug in, to be laid in the ditch. They come to pull you up. Let them help you. Don't be afraid to let family members help you. You are God's chosen. You are not out here for nothing. You have purpose. You have a destiny to fulfill. You have things right now that God has in your heart that you didn't even know was there. And hopefully this broadcast will push you to it. That you didn't even know was there. There are things in your eyesight, your vision, your supernatural vision, that you did not even know you was going to see. But God has given you sight. He has given you new sight to the blind. Now that you're no longer blinded by the fake love. And listen though, it could have been real love, but it didn't work out. But now that you're no longer blinded by that, what are you going to do about your life? How are you going to go about your business? How are you going to get up now day to day and do things? What can you get out of this brokenness that you're in now? I'm going to tell y'all the honest truth. A couple weeks ago, I was sitting around and I had been stressed out some because of certain situations. I had been stressed out, and we do get stressed, but I knew I didn't want to stay in that place because I knew that place wasn't good for me. And so I began to walk around my house, and I said, Lord, I think the last class we was here, I said, Lord, put creativity in me. Help me. Excuse me, y'all. I said, help me, Lord, to see some sense in all of this that I'm going through with my family. Because you remember I fell out with my family one time and, over some situations. But then we got mended back. We wasn't apart that long. Bless our hearts. We never do stay apart long. But that all got mended. And then I had the thing going on with my children. And then I had things going on, with the dating and stuff, trying to date. And as a plus size woman, it's hard to really try to find somebody who's really wanting you for you and not just your body. So as I was praying, I'm a comic in my own way, for real, I am. And walking around this house, it came to my mind. Bam! It came to my mind. I jumped up. As I was praying, it's crazy. I was speaking some funny stuff, and I would just start laughing in my prayer to God. As I was speaking out loud around my house, I would just start laughing. And then something said, won't you go record something that can make others laugh? Why don't you use this time to not only build you up internally, but to speak some truth and let it not always sound so serious, but be yourself. I said, be myself. Haven't I been myself? And when I began to look around, I realized that I hadn't been myself for a while. About 5 months. It said, be yourself. Be yourself. Because yourself is who God has created the skill in. See, it's not the fake person that God created it in. It's yourself. It's when you humble down and begin to pray to God to bring you to yourself. Who am I, God? What have I always done in my life that was satisfying to me and pleasing to you? And the one thing I always done in my life, believe it or not, was tell jokes. I always told jokes. I always had a word to make people laugh. And when God gave me that in my heart and my spirit lifted up and I rose up and I said, I'm going to do it. I ain't never did it live before, but I'm going to try this. And so I began to do something new. He put a new thing in me. It was actually an old thing, but it's new to radio. So I began to do comic on the air. I got this little podcast called My Plus Size Grandma, and I began to do comedy shows. And then when I stepped out and did the comedy show, guess what? I began to write. And when I started writing, all this stuff started coming to my head, and it was good, and it was clean, and it was nice, and it was funny, and it just told the story about what goes on in people's homes without identifying anybody specifically, but yet gave a solution of how to work out certain problems. And I was like, wow. And because I was obedient, and I will say because I was obedient, God favored me in some areas. I have talent scouts now trying to get me to let them manage me and